Graeae Theatre Company, National Theatre, the London 2012 Paralympics Legacy and the Future, recorded with a live audience at Cottesloe Room, National Theatre, Wednesday 3rd of August 2016. Welcome to the Cottesloe Room here at the National Theatre in London for what I think is going to be a very interesting and lively debate around the cultural impact of the London 2012 Paralympic Games. Over the last couple of years, Graeae have been releasing videos on the anniversary of the Paralympic Games, reflecting upon the current climate where deaf and disabled people and what they're facing at the moment, as well as artists. And it felt in Olympic and Paralympic year, with the spirit of Rio 2016, we felt we should broaden the conversation out. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight. You've got a key role, and I think the key role, whether you've got huge amounts of experience in disability, culture, or whether you're striving to create a platform for deaf and disabled artists, I think the key question tonight that I want us to all think about and have the opportunity to talk and share is what we can do. What is it that we can do to keep pushing the disability arts agenda in what is turning into a very unique moment in time, both in Britain but also globally too. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Amit Sharma. I'm the Associate Director of Graeae Theatre Company, and I was also the Director of Jack Thorne's The Solid Life of Sugar Water, which was part of the final season here at the Temporary Shed. I just want us to kind of go back, having just made that statement, way back to the 1980s when Graeae was formed. And like histories of many theatre companies of that time, Graeae started off with a real need to tell stories from the perspective of people who had been marginalised and were challenging the status quo. Under our current artistic director, Jenny Sealey, who we'll meet a bit later, since 1997, the company has creatively used access. Now, whether that's sign language, audio description, creative captioning, and we've used that as part of our narrative of storytelling, whether it's new plays or plays that have been long in existence, which, crucially, allows audiences that perhaps thought theatre couldn't be for them. So, it was with a real buzz and excitement that the London Cultural Olympiad opened its heart and celebrated Britain's diversity as a nation, which was beautifully captured by the Paralympics opening ceremony. A ceremony that was artistically led for the very first time by two artists who identified as being deaf and disabled, Jenny and Bradley Hemmings, who unfortunately can't be here but sends us all good wishes. What the ceremony did, it vitally placed the deaf and disabled agenda right at the core of its artistic narrative. Who we are, where do we belong, and what are our rights? So, with that, can I please invite our panelists and guests. First, John Kelly, actor, musician, and activist. Nicola Miles-Wildin, actor and director. Matt Fraser, actor and writer. Rufus Norris, director of the National Theatre. And Jenny Sealey, CEO and artistic director of Graeae Theatre Company. Right. I've got a couple of questions that I'd like to throw to the panel, and then we'll come to the audience too. But just before I throw my first question, I just wanted to read out some facts, if that's okay, for all you number people out there. The opening ceremony, of course, as we know, took place in Stratford, East London, even, on the 29th of August. That wasn't right at all. It took place at Stratford, East London, on the 29th of August, 2012. 11.2 million people watched the ceremony. 43 deaf and disabled performers took part in a groundbreaking 8-week training program at the National Centre for Circus Arts. There were 68 deaf and disabled people who took part as volunteers at the ceremony. One in 3 UK adults changed their attitude towards disabled people after their games, with 8 out of 10 thinking the Paralympics had a positive impact on the way disabled people were viewed by the public. So, with all that, I think what I want to start off with, asking the panel, and Jen, I'm going to come to you first, because the opening ceremony was yours and Bradley's baby. I suppose the question is, is there one memory that really sticks out for you?
I don't know where to start. I do know that our Arts Council stats that year were very good. Audience figures were top. Oh, I just remember, Bradley and I went through a series of quite brutal interviews to get that job, and my God, we wanted it. We got it. We were given the news over dinner somewhere in Waterloo. Then we just went off by ourselves to the Cuban bar on the corner of the lower marshes or wherever. And we sat there, ordered a margarita. But by that point, we were so emotionally exhausted. We clinked, had a sip, went, you know what, I'm going to leave that. We're going to go to bed. So we did. And then we arrived the next morning at the 3 Mills in our breeze block, with nothing on the walls. Oh my God, be careful what you wish for, I think. We've got to do it now. And what we had though in our head, and what we had said in our interview was Stephen Hawking, Alison Lapper, Spasticus Autisticus, and a really, really massively diverse cast of volunteers, and that we were the original Jen and Brad. We kept that mantra going for quite a long time. Tumbleweed moment sometimes, but I loved it. And looking at that again, goose pimples, because how lucky was I, how lucky were we to be given a playing space to be political. And that's the other thing. We fought for that because we wanted to do that big human rights declaration. Oh, come on, we are here and we're not going anywhere. And we've got big God, we've got big presence, and finally the whole world needs to see that we are absolutely part of that fabric of society, and that was our playing stage. And we had people who are on this platform with me as part of that, people who are in the audience tonight as part of that. It was extraordinary. And there's a photograph right at the end of me when we were singing I Am What I Am. Of course, we had to have that. That was the other thing. Beautifully camp and wonderful with Lizzie Emma and Beverly Knight and Caro on that stage holding it. And there's a picture of Brad just going bananas and me, tears. And I looked exactly the same as the photo I have when I was just giving birth to my child. Seriously, it's that same picture. So that's, yes, millions of memories.
I knew there wouldn't be one memory, there's millions. Rufus, do you have a memory from?
Well, I for the almost the entire period I was locked in tech here. And I remember kind of stepping out to get glimpses of it. But I suppose my son actually went to a lot of the Paralympics. My principal memory is of it not being separate. It felt like the Olympics and the Paralympics absolutely ran into each other, and it was kind of for the first time in my awareness of it all, it just felt like one event, I suppose, which is very simple and basic, but that just felt like a massive step forward, really, that it was the two were now indivisible.
Maybe perhaps part of that was it felt like the games were coming home to Stoke Mandeville, where the Paralympic movement first started too. So there was even more of an ownership perhaps over the games. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Mine, I've got one was a complete. I still wake up in cold sweats at night from the fear that it created. These in-ear monitors that I've never used in my life, and I've got really sweaty ears, and I was really petrified that I was going to look a complete arse in front of millions of people with these ears, but no one being able to put them back in. So that was like the fear. The one that really sticks in my mind, if I'm honest, was we obviously celebrated once we had got through it. That we had got through it. It wasn't anything about how brilliant it was. It was just, thank God we've done it, and it was all right. And I remember leaving the party in the early hours of the morning. The sun was breaking, so that's quite a big party. I was walking along Hackney back to the flat, and there was a guy coming out of the newsagents getting a newspaper out, and I kind of saw the front. I thought, oh look, that's about the show. So I thought, oh, we've made a newspaper. And then I walked round the corner, and the next newsagents had got all their papers out on the front stands, and we were on the front page of every single newspaper. And I thought, ooh, we've done something. And that was kind of a bit of a tingle on the back of the neck moment.
Yeah, I bet.
Even the Daily Mail.
Even Mail. They still call me crude, though.
Matt?
Well, as an old punk, one of the I've got two abiding memories. There's a main one, but the minor one was, Spasticus Autisticus, Ian Jury's song, commissioned by the then Spasticus Society, that was then banned, and we were playing it in front of the Queen. The Queen was there, and we were playing it, and I got really tickled by that. I remember thinking to myself, "Hello, Your Majesty. I hope you're enjoying this." Which I'm sure she was. But the other one was I was in a vomitorium, which is the word for the tunnel that comes out, and we were watching all the teams, and they put Ireland in between Iran and Iraq, which I thought was really funny. That was like my abiding memory, because I was like, hold on a minute, that's not right in the alphabet. But of course they hadn't done that for that reason. Actually, my biggest memory was because I was the warm-up guy. They sent me out to basically get the audience to learn how to do their Mexican wave and press their thing on the electric apple thing. And I remember thinking, it's so, 65,000 people, and just as I was about to step out, and I was a little nervous, it has to be said, the stage manager something went horribly wrong backstage, and the stage manager rushed up to me and whispered in my ear, "Cut it down for 45 seconds, don't do this and don't do that," and then just pushed me on. And I remember, it was fine, it was all fine and everything, but that was like the panic, that split-second panic moment was fairly profound at that point. Yeah.
Nikki?
For me, there's so many. I mean, playing the part of Miranda was just definitely like once in a lifetime, the biggest gig I'll probably ever get. And I didn't get the role till like 3 weeks before, so I was in it initially as a wheelchair dancer. So I kind of, was aware of the Jen and Brad thing, and when you're in it as a wheelchair dancer, you know what your section is. You have no idea of the whole story. So then 3 weeks before, do the audition, have to go up in a harness for the first time, which was just amazing anyway. I thought, even if I don't get it, at least I'm doing something I thought I'd never be able to do. And then to get the phone call to say, oh yeah, you've got the part, rehearsals start properly on Monday. So I had that whole, I suppose the whole 3-week rehearsal process for me was just, it was so quick, but moments that I take from it initially was sitting around that table with Jen and Bradley, Jonathan, the designer, and going through the story, and the guy there that draws the camera shots for Channel 4 in the comic, the cartoony way. And now he's like, now I've got a face I can put to Miranda, that's cool. And it was just going through the story, and they were like, and this is where Stephen comes out. And I was like, Stephen? And like, oh yeah, Stephen Hawking. So I'm like, right. Thanks for telling me that. And then we think this is where Ian will come. Ian? Yeah, McKellen. Right, shit the bed, this is real now. So yeah, and then I think just being around everyone, being in at 3 meals, learning how to go up high, and being in the stadium, being there rehearsing, having my hair bleached blonde like the week before, the blue streak put in, and then the night of the the day of the ceremony, being called to the stadium for like 2 o'clock, being told that what we were going to do was now cut, and we had lots of new words we had to learn. And there was one point where it was just raining. Me and Sir Ian, were on set. We were on the stage at like 4:30 in the afternoon with Stephen Daldry and Bradley and Jen talking about the new bit that we were adding in, whilst all the volunteers were going over their dance moves. people telling us we had to be out of the stadium by 5. It was all really like wham, 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 these are the changes, you've got to deal with it. And then at 5:30, Sir Ian was sent one way, I was sent to the PE changing room where we all were getting ready. And then that was it. In then for like 12 minutes past 8, ready for when it was going to start. And I wheeled to the VOM, and the stage manager said to me, right, remain calm, but this is all for you. And you look out, and there's 70,000 people. And as I'm sat there being put in my harness, I'm like, and the flyover happened, I'm there holding Tash's hand, who's putting me in the harness, and I'm like, right, can't cry, because in about a minute, the whole world is going to be watching me, and I don't want mascara coming down my face. And just that moment of, I think you go into that work mode as an actor where you go, right, this is it, job to be done, and out you go and do it. And we got through the entire ceremony, and it was brilliant. You know, when you're there in the VOM and you've got Stephen Hawking and Sir Ian McKellen acting the fool, you're like, this is definitely once in a lifetime, this will never happen again. To then the point where you see the Great Britain team coming round and all the fireworks and celebration going. To then, when I shot out of the stadium at the end as I broke the glass ceiling, that as I went up, you just hear the massive cheer from the entire stadium. And that's when I was like, yeah, we've done it. We've done something great here. And then you kind of come down, we went for drinks. And then I remember people in the casino where we were having our drinks. Classy. Sorry. On their phones, and people going, bloody hell, the Daily Mail loved it. And that was mega for disabled people at that time. Yeah, and I think the next day, just, you know, having to go and do different news interviews and being stopped in the street for photos, even like 2 or 3 months later. And it was, I remember saying to David Toole, who was one of the dancers in it, and we flew up and met one another. I said to him, oh, you know what, Dave? I don't think anybody's going to watch us. I don't think it will make such an impact. And he was like, don't be stupid. And I remember coming off halfway through and just checking my phone. And my Twitter followers had gone up by about 600 people. And I was like, wow, this is real. It is having an impact. And just, you know, talking to people after and going to see some of the Paralympic events, it was like, no, it has really put us on the map in disability arts and as London and as the UK.
And talking about being placed on a map, Matt, you had the opportunity to be part of 2 ceremonies.
Yeah, that was just a lucky camera angle, because Julie, my wife, quite sensibly decided to stay at home and watch it on telly, because she'd get a better view of the whole thing. And she said, I got home and she went, it was amazing. There was this like close-up of you drumming. And then it cut to Ian McKellen do something, or whatever. Anyway, and then 2 days later I got a call from Chris Martin from Coldplay, who'd happened to be watching it, saw the clip of drumming, and asked me to guest with them on the closing ceremony, which would not have happened had we not been playing Spasticus Autisticus. You know, things like that are extra sweet when it comes from doing something that you believe in the first place. You know.
So you had that opportunity, that quick glance, and then you're in the other ceremony.
Yeah.
What other opportunities have kind of come about following the Paralympics? Not necessarily directly because of it, but since.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, because it's hard to say. I've done a couple of things since then, but I can't say how much the Paralympics had to do with them. What I can say is that my continued journey with Graeae and Reasons to be Cheerful and the beautiful music of Ian Jury has continued, and I've been involved in that a lot, and that's that's big to me. You know, I'm a hugely political person, so it's hard not to see it through the framework of my left-leaning point of view. But given that the Tories came in and kicked everyone about for the last 5 years, that's what predominates to me, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or a Donald Downer, so to speak. Don't want to be, but you know, the legacy is it all turned to shit, as far as I'm concerned. But sorry.
How about for you, John?
Yeah, I think what my experience kind of afterwards was kind of, I think the impact, you don't realise the impact that you can have on people if you're given the right platform. I think that was one of the things. So like you were saying, Nikki, like strangely, I mean, they still do come up to me now. You know, last week I did Milton Keynes Festival. Guy came up and said, Spasticus Autisticus, I remember you doing it. I watched you on telly and I was crying. I didn't know that guy. So what happened as a result of that was kind of like, we've got like this responsibility. We've got this responsibility to use our voices and to use it to affect change. So I think that's something that I kind of realised as a result of doing it, was that people were starting to listen to what I was saying. It wasn't just a load of, that I was making a load of gibberish after a few pints of Guinness. You know, I was actually saying stuff that were kind of like people were listening to, and I had a responsibility to make sure that I was saying the right things in terms of what was important and what was critical. And like Matt was saying, the kind of the changes that need to happen. It's been pretty devastating. It was literally like a few weeks after the Paras closed down, the curtains come down, and it was like the rug's pulled from your feet. We closed the ILF, we make devastating changes to the Access to Work programme, we make as many cuts as we can, and kind of the basic things that we all needed to make that night happen have been decimated. And so I've kind of used my voice on the streets, because that's kind of like, you know, we've been on panels, we've been in committee meetings all our lives. You know, we've been on all the kind of access forums and all that kind of stuff. And actually, if we're given our own platform, you know, for that unique moment during the Paralympics, everyone was smiling at each other. You know, we immersed ourselves in a beautiful world where everyone was happy and we could celebrate, and disability art was seen for the quality that it can really, really be. And I want that back.
Jen?
But just linking to John, you know, afterwards, it's the weirdest feeling in the world. You're so high, and my God, you crashed. But that crash, we didn't crash gracefully, we were pushed. So we've had to pick ourselves up again. Deepa, Amelia, other people at Max, everybody's in here. We had to pick ourselves up again. And someone said, oh, Jen, now you've done that, you could do anything. It was like, no, that was one show. That was one show. What's more important now is actually what is the next show? How do we respond to this? And the only way that I know how to respond to anything, same as Rufus, same as all of us, is theatre. Theatre is always the best way to do something. So, in one way, that fall from grace was a really good stick of dynamite up Graeae to go back to our roots. We started off as a massive political company, and we've always been political, but perhaps we lost our nerve to be really, really gobby. So that got us back. So we did the Limbless Night in response to sacrifice around the Independent Living Fund, around access to work, around all of that. And then the reasons why you've done the Threepenny Opera, we did the Threepenny Opera to get politics, disability politics, back in that agenda, but through theatre to reach out, to continue to reach out to deaf and disabled people and our mainstream audience. Because we can't do that fight on our own. We need that backup of the masses.
So just reflecting on the backup, Rufus, there's been quite a lot of change here at the National Theatre. Me and Jen were having a conversation today actually about how much this has felt like home now for Graeae, because of the amount of conversations and dialogues and shows and platform events like this have kind of happened, which previously there weren't. So what's been your approach?
It's pretty simple and ignorant and naive, sort of all wrapped into one, really. But simple, which is, if it's called National Theatre, we do theatre for the nation, and that is everybody in it. And and actually, it's really not much more complicated than that. When you go, okay, let's have a look at our diversity policy in terms of our targets for BAME. Okay, well, what's the national statistic? It's 14%. What's the London statistic? It's 40%. Well, how about 20? What does that feel like? All right, let's go for 20 throughout the whole organisation as quick as we can. That doesn't take an awful lot of thinking. It's not very complicated theory, and it's not a very complicated attitude. And particularly on areas where I say ignorance, because there are a lot of areas that I don't know very, very little about, and it's no secret to you guys that I hadn't worked with a deaf or disabled performer before Everyman. and in that area, along with everything else, it's just... So I suppose, I came in with quite a simple attitude, is how do we make that happen? What I discovered, of course, is that this place is full of brilliant people, and you know, words like, when you're dealing with an organisation, people talk about creative, you know, empowerment and all that kind of stuff, and it's just words, but actually the reality of it is really forceful. If you find, you know, if you find the right person, you go, okay, actually I'm having a think that maybe we should do a community project, maybe, and now we've got one, you know, by the time I get kicked out of here, it will be, I hope, I fully intend, it will be impossible for the National to not do a major community project every year. That, I haven't done it, I've just said, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea? And then suddenly all the people around you who've been gagging to have permission to do that stuff for ages go, yes, well, what do you mean by that? Back it up. And, you know, and with deaf and disabled, it's the same thing. You can go, how about a bit of visibility around the place? And then suddenly the people like Roz and Charlotte, people who've been passionate about it forever, go, well, thank God somebody's listening. I don't mean to disrespect my predecessors. It just hasn't been a priority. And now diversity is properly. And we can't, I mean, like you say, forums, sitting around Ed Vasey's round tables. Yeah, you know.
Matt?
Yeah, I just wanted to temper what I said earlier by, you know, the real change is the slow burn change in mainstream culture that accepts disability culture as part of it. And you know, that came out through, you know, Unlimited, a funding program subsidiary to the Arts Council that only funds disability arts projects. That's a 5-year, glorious 5-year plan. And loads of infusions of inclusions that wouldn't have happened before. Definitely is part of the legacy that I see. And on artistic level, you know, I mean, yes, Rufus is possibly a reflection of what I'm talking about, but personally, I've been waiting for someone at the National to say what just came out of your mouth for about 20 years. So it's very nice to hear it. And some of that has to be because you're you. But some of it, of course, is because times have changed as well. And we're all thinking, oh, God, we better step up here. And, you know, we better reflect the nation. So it's really encouraging to see the level of work mature and get better. And I do think that's a direct result of the influence that the ceremony and that glorious 12-day, we were on the front pages for 12 days, you know, Dave Weir, the werewolf and all of that business, you know, it was really celebrational. And I think we started something that we're feeling the effects of now. So although directly for me, the Paralympics I didn't then do a thing because of it, you know, it's spread out and we're feeling the effects of it very strongly now, I think. And it's great.
Yeah, and I think that's true with regards to myself, in confidence anyway, of speaking out more about things. But also other performers that were in that ceremony, particularly people that were trained in aerial, have now been able to kind of push that section of the arts as well. So we're kind of attacking it from all different areas, and we're reaching more people, you know, getting out and doing street theatre as well. You're reaching a wider network, a bigger audience. So we're not giving people a chance to hide away from it, that we are there more in your face. And I think it gave us all a confidence to do that.
And a responsibility to do it better.
Yeah.
So we've got about 10 minutes, and I'd like to bring in the audience, as I'm sure you've got some thoughts or questions or comments that you might like to put to the panel. I just want to frame it slightly to what I started off with, which was, you know, it's kind of around, if we could paint the perfect future, what do we want that future to be? Yeah, and I also offer that to the panel as well, because it really does feel that we had a moment of ecstasy, and it's been kind of come down, but there may be a way out of this. There may be a way out of this. So does anyone in the audience want to share, care and share? No, great. No, yeah.
I'm Max Runham, and I'm an actor. And someday, and I'm going to be a little bit naughty because I don't know if I have anything to say that's quite catered to the thing that you wanted me to say. But
people don't listen to me all the time. Don't worry about it.
But I just think, as well as the flip side of basically what we've been saying of opening up kind of people's awareness of disability and people's comfort with disability and people's kind of exposure to disability. Also, something that I'm incredibly grateful to Graeae for is my opinion of my own disability and how that's changed how I treat my own disability. And before I was exposed to Graeae, I think I had a lot of very buried discomforts with my disability that I think have completely vanished. And it's been a kind of slow process over the last few years, but since working on Threaten the Opera with Jenny, I wore a prosthetic arm up until a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was 2 months after working with Graeae that I just decided to stop wearing it. And I thought it was a kind of coincidence that happened, and I was like, oh wait, no, it was probably because of Matt. And yeah, I think I just wanted to express my gratitude to Graeae for that, and how important it is, I think, that Graeae keep doing that and keep that flame alive in other disabled people. And yeah, because I think as well that helps the spread happen almost just as much, because that enlivens people being impassioned about how they feel about it. Because I was completely passive before. I was just like, oh, this is just something and I want to kind of just get on with it. Whereas now I feel like it's something important, and I feel like there's other people who are suffering far more than I am, and that it's an important thing to challenge and tackle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max.
So Max, you're not cross with me for constantly playing hide the arm during rehearsal.
I didn't think that was a game. I thought we were actually trying to hide it so we could never find it again.
Would anyone else like to make a comment? Yeah.
My name is Amelia. John Kelly wants to know the color of my hair. It's blue, in honor of Nikki. No. I'm an actor, aerialist, musician, academic. Lactose intolerant? No. Anyway, and I just, in kind of relation to your closing statement, Amit, I have two thoughts. And one is that I think one of the biggest defenses that disabled artists always seem to have is the ability to be multidisciplinary. Like, you know, when you were listing the people on the panel, it's like, you know, Nikki is a director and an actor. Matt is is a performer and a writer. You know, everybody's got at least a couple strings to their bow, and I think that's a defense that we have. And every time I've ever encountered people, I've had the fortune, and I think this is part of that mainstream slow burn that Matt was talking about. I've had the fortune in the past couple of years of being integrated into quote unquote mainstream productions and things like that. And whenever I go into them, people are always surprised at how many skills disabled people have. And I think that's really just exciting and should be celebrated. As far as a kind of utopic, if that's a word, view for the future, I do think that one thing that we have focused a lot on, and as well we should, is performers. We talk a lot about disabled performers, but I do think it's important as well to think about disabled writers, disabled designers, disabled directors, disabled, you know, everybody who's part of every cog in every machine that makes good art. And I think as soon as we focus on that, we'll realize where there are a lot of deficits and maybe where some other things need to be started to kind of get some dynamite up there, you know what, so that, you know, things change. Because I think in particular in design, there aren't a lot of disabled people, but there are a lot of talented minds that could be, for example. So that would be my contribution.
Just to add, Amelia has another skill. In a few weeks' time in Rio, she will be doing live audio description from top of a sway pole in Portuguese. We decided this in rehearsal yesterday, so you can add that to your CV.
Multi-skilled. Yeah, Jen.
I just want to add to Amelia, I think it's because of Unlimited have given us so many different opportunities, so we can enter the arts at different levels, at entry level, as producers. So we're doing that within the disability arts world through Unlimited, but we also need to really push that agenda further out into the mainstream world. You know, we need to be really knocking up those gatekeepers and having access to those keys, because when we are massively present in and around all of it, that I really do believe is when attitudes start to shift and change. There's real dialogue. You could ask those really difficult questions that don't seem PC, but actually, talk. Ask them. Because if you don't ask, you don't know. And we don't have that chance to respond and unpack stuff. So, when Rufus was talking about attitude, you can have the most amazingly gloriously, spankingly accessible building. But if the attitude is not welcoming or suspicious or derogatory of disabled people, then I'm really sorry we're not coming. It's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's about the National at all. No, but really, I'm really not saying that. I've lost my thread completely.
I'm just going to take one more from the floor and then come back to the panel. Is there anyone else who's... Yeah, thank you.
Hi, David Hutchison from the stage. I think that, as a gay man, one of the really important things for me in theatre and any other kind of medium is seeing a balance of shows that are, address and are about issues that face gay people, and also just shows that have gay people in them quite instantly as sort of getting on with their business, but just being gay. Quite a lot of the shows that I see that feature disabled people, it almost has to be acknowledged in some way or highlighted or pointed out in a kind of inside joke in the Threepenny Opera there was a really intentionally uncomfortable moment, of course, when one of the characters' disability was mocked. How far away are we from a point where there are considerably more shows that just happen to feature disabled people, much as the population of the UK features a large amount of disabled people?
I'll throw that. Yeah, Matt.
In 1997, I thought it would be by about 2007. So based on, obviously, my extreme naivete of that time frame, my new projection for the utopia that you describe is about another 30 years from now.
I've got this solution for the utopia.
Yeah.
I've been working on the future and utopia, and I've got it on the bus coming up. and this is what it's. I've thought about it long and hard, and what we need is a general election. and we need to sort out the result already, so that the new cabinet is formed out of artists, disabled people, people who are discriminated against, the people who are oppressed, and the power shift changes the next morning, and we radicalise everything just for a little while, a little bit like Mr. Corbyn might have done with the Labour Party for a little while, but actually we spice it up and we actually say the things that we created 4 years ago are all real. The skills that you saw, the talents that you saw, the joy that you felt was real. And it could be like that if we had a cabinet and the power shift changed, so that maybe for just a while, those that were oppressed had some of the power to make the changes that were needed, so that values like equality, values like human rights, values like inclusion actually did start to become a reality. So that's what I'm calling for, a general election. Oh yeah, that would be, and then and long straws to be in every bar, and free Guinness, and Spasticus #1. That's fine.
Nick, what does your utopia look like?
Not far from John's, to be honest. I quite like the sound of that. I think it is just that, and Matt said something interesting about 97. You saw in 10 years' time we'd be at that place where a disabled actor could play any character. And I always get into lots of rants, particularly on Facebook, about cripping up. And a lot of actors go, yeah, but that's what actors do. It's about playing someone that's not you. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But I will stop shouting about it when disabled actors have the same opportunities as non-disabled actors. When I can go up for a role that is a non-disabled character and be there amongst non-disabled actors, not turn up to a casting and see Lisa there, or someone who is a wheelchair user and happens to be female and range in age from 18 to 67. we're all going for the same part. Or even when, you know, even after Paralympics, I got an audition for a famous charity, and the casting was up 3 flights of stairs. And I said, was there a lift? No, there wasn't. So I refused to go. And it's like, really, that is still happening now. The amount of auditions I refuse to go to because they're not in an accessible building. So there's lots that needs to be changed. But Matt was my role model growing up. And it was, I know. Sorry.
It's out now.
I
It's
know.
out now.
So it was Matt and it was Lisa Hammond that were on my telly growing up, and Francesca Martinez. And now adding to that, we've got Sheryl Lee, we've got Liz Carr, Kerry Burnell. And then I kind of go, and the guy out of Breaking Bad, and wow! And then I'm scraping the barrel. And that is, quite a few years ago now. And it's like, so where are they all? Where are all these disabled actors? Why are they not on our stages, on our screens, to give positive role models to disabled people? Because bloody hell, we need them, particularly at this time. It's like my life is not reflected on stage, on screen, anywhere. I'm just begging out for it to happen. So Rufus, over to you. Thank you.
I'm conscious of time. I do want
Rufus.
Rufus
I
to
had a
have
very, very interesting meeting with a commercial producer today, as we talk about writers, we talk about people, and then she starts talking about directors. Who should direct this thing? Should it be him, her, la la la. I'm thinking, I said, oh, what, do you not have any idea? I went, well, yes, me. I said, oh, I don't know what else I have to do, but it does to me was quite funny, given we're having this conversation now.
Rufus, your utopia.
It is. It's Jenny. It's a beach. I want a suntan like that. That's my utopia. Well, like, you know, it's. I think it's the same for as everybody's here. That where it's just exactly what you're talking about. It's going to see something and you go, you know, the one and only Jamie Bedard said something to me recently, which he's probably said to all of you many times, which is the day I get a bad review is the day that I realise that that I've arrived as an actor. And of course he stole all the reviews on Threat Me Opera again. And in a way it's the day Jamie gets a bad review, in a sense. That's
I can tell you a few things about him later.
I think it's fucking awful, but you know, nobody wrote it. Yeah, I suppose it's that. It's when visibility finally becomes invisibility, and it ceases to be an issue. But you know, what you were saying about the, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think that's it. You know, we did the way that I had an endless education, I would say, or. It wasn't quite a row, but Kieran Estamel, when we were doing Everyman, was just banging on and on and on at me about, no, you just don't get it. And I was going, well, I want you to and she's going, you know, and she really gave me a grilling in exactly what you're talking about. Just put me in the play. Let me be in the play. Let me be a member of this company who is just playing a part like everybody else. And all the little things that you're trying to do, and I can see all of them coming a mile off, to make me special, to celebrate and I'd kind of go, yeah, but there's a big guy, Nick Holder, and we're making him. And she said, yeah, but you know, anyway, I won't get into that. But it is, you know, that's a really good call. It is. In the end, when you're talking about the gatekeepers, I'm sitting here thinking, well, what can I do?
But can I, because I know it is time. What shifted? What was the thing that shifted? Because I think there's a lot of people who will be out there watching this, or maybe even in the audience, thinking exactly that's where they're at. So what shifted for you with that conversation with Kieran and or was there anything that shifted? Or
Yeah, there was. There was actually what it came down to. It was really something simple. Where I said, look, Kieran, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to big up your part actually in the piece. Because it was a piece where it was unwritten. It was being written in the room on the actors that were there. And she said, you're just not getting it. The whole point is that I'm not special. I'm not outside this group. You're trying to say all these people are part of this person. So just allow me to be me in that situation. I mean, she will put it much, much better. But I was trying to celebrate her disability, actually. And she was saying, well, don't. Why not just celebrate me as an actor? And when I got it, I went, oh, it was like a penny dropping. It was really simple. So with Jamie, it was completely different, because we're going, actually the part will be constructed around that. But I think the real challenge is to get it's just to make sure that in casting terms, and it's not, there's no, you know what, there's a really simple thing, which is that as a director, I look, and I don't know if I'm typical or not. If I've got 10 parts, 4 of them I want to be my mates, because I want to be in a room where not the majority, but there's a really strong number of people in there who get me, so that when things get really crappy towards the end, and everybody thinks he doesn't know what he's talking about, there's enough people in there to go, that's all right. Always happens like this. Which means that if deaf and disabled actors aren't your mates because you don't know them, then that's already 40% of the casting that is out the window. You know, next time I think of Jamie, I'll think of Jamie. I won't think of somebody with, I know I need somebody with cerebral palsy. It becomes personal, and that's the way our industry works. And I think we can do a lot of work on literally getting people onto directors' my mates lists, because then you think about people totally differently, because it's personal.
We're gonna have to stop there, I'm afraid. I just want to thank the panel. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you for coming tonight. Thanks also to Claire Hill, the pattern typist. Thanks also to Steve and Vicky, the sign language interpreters. Thanks to Rufus and the National Theatre, the whole team here who have done the event in collaboration with us. But in particular, thanks to Ros Hayes, Sarah Mowat, Emma Hardy and Emma Reedy. And particular special massive thanks to Richard Matthews, who organised the whole event in super quick time and did a fantastic job. Jenny, final word.
I'm just aware that this is going out just before Rio will do their opening ceremony. So it'd be really good if you all just put your thumb out, make a fist to put your thumb out. So that's good. Then put your index finger out so you make an L. And now stroke your thumb across your nose so you do that. And that's good luck. And then with your thumb, just tap the side of your right or left arm. Rio, and that's so it's good luck, Rio. So we want them to have a great, big, brilliant time, and for the Paralympic ceremony and the games to really shift perspective there in a way that it started to do here. So good luck, Rio. And
we're gonna celebrate with a reception of our own. So we got a reception upstairs. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you once again. Graeae Theatre Company, graeae.org. Find us on Twitter and Facebook at Graeae, supported by Arts Council England.